Big discounts and warm July weather helping some retailers post strong sales, but others having a tough time in this economy. CBC's Courtney Reagan diving into the latest figures from the major retailers. Courtney.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, consumers did whatever they could to beat that heat in July. We all remember how hot it was, and that included shopping in those air-conditioned malls. Thanks to heavy discounting to clear merchandise ahead of that all-important back-to-school season, chain store sales are at 4.4% for the month. That's in line with estimates and 57% higher than last year. Let's take a look at the map here and see who is leading the winners. Discounters and higher end. Costco up 10%. This includes gasoline and a bump from foreign currency. Competitor BJ's also up 9.2%. Now take a look at Saks. 15.6% gain. The company says women and men's apparel and accessories led those sales higher. And Dillard's comes in with a big surprise, up 9%. That more than doubles the estimates on strength in men's apparel and accessories. But where there are winners, there are losers. Kohl's surprises to the downside, posting a 4.6% loss. The street expected a gain of 3.5%. And then there's Gap. Gap continues to work through its turnaround plan. Now, Brad Good will dive deeper into Gap's new marketing plan later in the hour. Let's take a look and see how things are trading right now. Shares of teen retailer down sharply. Look at Aeropostale down 21.25%, really just getting creamed after their sales were down 14%. Gap down 5.2%. Kohl's down 4.83%. And this is really interesting because retailers are also raising some of their second quarter estimates, even those reporting weak chain store sales like Gap and Kohl's. That kind of has analysts scratching their heads. But it does look as if investors are trading more on the weak sales numbers than the raise in guidance. As you can see, they're lower. But Abercrombie & Fitch and Dillard's, two of the retailers that are trading in the green, faring a little bit better than the rest of the pack today. Now, back to school is just around the corner, and many analysts expect the momentum to continue, though they think that cash-strapped consumers could buy later in the season, waiting for those better deals and choosing very carefully. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Courtney, thanks so much. Are consumers still spending on clothes? Which retailers are winning the battle for your wallet? Joining us now is Leah Hartman, retail analyst at CRT Capital. Also, Stacey Widlitz, independent analyst and retail consultant and a CNBC contributor. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Stacey, let me start with you. You know, if you look at the way the stocks are trading, it seems like what the market cares about right now is foot traffic, sales, people in your stores, not inventory management, not cutting costs. Is that the way the trade is working?
Absolutely. I think right now the focus is top line here. So you look at Gap, comps were down 5%. That's much worse than expected. You look at Kohl's here. And lastly, you look at Aeropostale, which was just a mess all around. Inventory management is great, but we need top line here. And that's really where the focus is. And, you know, again, we talked about this yesterday. I think you want to stay away from the companies that sell basics in an inflationary environment, especially that aren't differentiated. And that's what you're seeing today.
Leah, do you buy the hypothesis that Stacey just put out there? And more especially, the numbers that Courtney just went over. Was there anything in them that surprised you or made you change your point of view on any of those stocks?
I do think I was a little bit surprised about Kohl's performance and how big a miss it was. But again, our standout and our top pick has been Macy's. And I think generally speaking, the department stores did very well. And tying to what Courtney said, Saks was a strong outperformer. But the luxury retailers, which have been posting very strong results, actually have their shopping tied to the market. So now as we look to Q3, you know, is that going to mean that the Saks customer and the Nordstrom customer maybe tightens up their wallet a little bit?
That, you know, and building on that point, Stacey, I see Tiffany's at the top of your list, and there are two huge headwinds that I think they could be facing going forward. One, the stock market, and obviously they're you know, courting a wealthy customer. Also, I mean, the price of gold and silver are both at record highs. That's their raw material.
You seem to know something about Tiffany here, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Why is that one of your picks?
Well, I think if you look at Tiffany, they've been passing through price increases. Obviously, the cost of their inputs have been increasing. Their customer is aware of that, so they have been able to push on those costs. And you just look at Tiffany's numbers. They comped up high teens last quarter. They're up against easier comparisons. The high end is obviously doing better. You saw the spending pulse data yesterday.
You think they can keep it going, though? They can keep it going in spite of what's happening in the economy, in spite of what's happening in the stock market. You would still add to that position today?
Well, certainly certainly nobody's immune in this environment, and the high end falls if things obviously fall apart in the market, but it's the last to fall and it's the first to recover. So I would say you look at Tiffany on pullbacks, and again, the comparisons are getting easier, and they're a global company. Over half of their earnings now are coming outside the United States, so I still think it's interesting.
Leah, explain to me why Saks did well and Nordstrom did not do so well.
Well, Nordstrom met expectations, and part of it is that Saks is still comping against easier comparisons to a year ago period. Their turnaround actually started a little later than Nordstrom. It's interesting to mention that you've had people on looking for value stocks, and I think there really are opportunities in the retailers because we also very much focus on margins and cash flow. And you mentioned that some of the companies like the Limited and brought up their earnings estimates as well as the Gap stores. So, you know, it's important to look at both, not only top line, but on cash flow, liquidity. And again, go back to Macy's, it is just knocking the cover off the ball.
All right, Leah, thank you very much. Stacey, great to see you as well.